Welcome, everybody. My name is Mia Tuan, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's event. As director of the Center on Diversity and Community, better known as Kodak, I speak on behalf of our entire staff in thanking you in joining us this evening. Tonight is the fourth and final event in Kodak's Unscripting Diversity series in honor of our 10-year anniversary. Back in November, when we launched our celebration, I shared that Kodak began as a kernel of an idea, of a center that offered meaningful advice about diversity issues emerging on our campus, advice on how to create inclusive learning environments, how to engage students from diverse backgrounds, and how to respond effectively when interactions go sideways. I also shared how Kodak eventually found its niche as a resource for faculty, administrators, and students seeking to negotiate as well as maximize the complexities that come with greater diversity. And finally, I shared how we arrived at the theme for our anniversary celebration, Unscripting Diversity, of how at Kodak we believe that now, more than ever, we need to think and talk about diversity in ways that are fresh and meaningful to a broad range of players, which means being willing to go off script sometimes, away from predictable interactions and conversations. It's been my privilege over the last year to welcome to campus an impressive lineup of academics, all of whom have made their careers studying the impact of racism, inequality, and demographic change. These past events focused on the diversity part of our name. Tonight, we turn our focus to the other word in our name, community. When one of my staff first suggested Guy Kawasaki as an anniversary speaker, I was intrigued. I thought, now that's an inspired choice, and one that takes us beyond our usual script. And the more I learned about Guy and his approach to persuasive communication, the more excited I got about hosting him as part of the Kodak series. Guy has much to teach us about how to engage audiences beyond the usual suspects, and why those of us engaged in diversity and equity work need to pay more attention to an important ingredient called enchantment. Now, I can imagine that when some of you saw the poster about Guy's visit, you might have wondered why a center that studies diversity would be the host. And those of you who have been longtime supporters of Kodak might have wondered, what were we thinking in inviting an entrepreneur and a web guru to be part of our speaker series? Well, we hope that by the end of the evening, the connections will become clear and that there will be plenty of aha moments, as well as those that provoke deeper consideration and thought. I'm not going to spend too much time reciting Guy's resume. Most of you probably already know him as the original chief evangelist for Apple, or you know him through one of his 12 books, including the New York Times bestseller Enchantment. Or maybe you've used his website, Alltalk, that's been called a magazine rack for the internet. And you may know that he holds degrees from both Stanford University and UCLA. What I want to leave you with is the story of how Guy came to be here this evening, because I think this will tell you more about who he is and why we believe his message about the connection between enchantment and community is important for you to hear. Guy is here tonight because of a hockey jersey. That's it. A hockey jersey that we were able to get through the generosity of our U of O club sports hockey team and the ingenuity of one of our staff who enchanted him by offering an avid hockey fan something he couldn't get for himself. There's an important lesson here about thinking outside the box to find ways to get others to take notice, be curious, and maybe even say yes to what matters to you. I'm confident that there will be many more such lessons to be learned from tonight's talk. And so now, without further delay, please join me in giving a warm Oregon welcome to Guy Kawasaki.
Thank you. Thank you. That is more or less a true story. And I actually got both a white and a dark jersey. So this is the dark jersey. I'll go more into jerseys later. And I'm just so happy. You know, a lot of speakers say they're so happy to be where they are. And they're basically bullshitting the audience. I am really happy to be here. I just love the University of Oregon. It really started in Phoenix, Arizona, believe it or not, because I spoke to the Association of Alumni Directors, And there I met Dan Rodriguez, who's sitting here, who recently retired, who ran your alumni association. And we hit it off in a very enchanting way. I subsequently visited here with my son, and we had a great trip. And then the invitation came from Rita, and I thought, well, let's just see how badly they want me. So in the meantime, my son had said, Dad, can you get me an Oregon jersey? And because across the board, across all sports, you guys have just the best jerseys. There is no question about that. And so we made that a little test that if Rita could get me a jersey, I would come over here and speak. And the funny story is, the first thing I tried to do is not bug Rita and to just go to your website and try to get one. And so there's this, you click on a link and you send the mail to, probably one of you guys. And I said, I want to buy a hockey jersey. And they said, you can't buy a hockey jersey. And I said, watch me. And so if they had said, yes, we'll sell you one, maybe I wouldn't be here. So it's a good thing they said no. So yes, I truly love hockey, and I love the University of Oregon. I have very close friends at Nike, principally Tinker Hatfield, and so Tinker went here. And I went to what's the building with the yellow seats in it? The yellow? Yeah, and so Tinker Hatfield's picture's on that, right? He's one of those athletes there. So there's a lot of connections between me and Oregon, and so I'm really, really quite enchanted with your school. So it's really fun to be here. I can't say that about every place I speak, let me tell you. So a little bit more about my background. I worked for Apple twice in my life, actually. From 83 to 87, I was Apple's software evangelist in the Mac division. Back then, the company had the Apple II division and the Mac division. The Apple II was making all the money. The Macintosh division was spending all the money because we weren't shipping yet. So if you looked at the Apple P&L statement, the P was Apple II, the L was Macintosh. And we worked for Steve Jobs, probably the biggest collection of egomaniacs in the history of California. And that's saying a lot. We held that record for about 25 years. Facebook recently broke the record, but we held the record for a good 25 years. And because we worked for Steve, we had very special rules, unlimited supplies of fresh orange juice. We had a great travel policy, which was that you could fly first class for any flight over 2 hours. And my interpretation of that rule was that 2 hours begins at the moment you leave your apartment. So I would fly first class from San Francisco to Eugene. I mean, it's an hour flight. You're in the airport an hour early, and it's, 30 minutes to get to the airport from your house. That's 2.5 hours. You meet the deadlines. You reach the minimum. We were such bad people. I'll tell you some stories that, oh, God. We, the Macintosh division, would not let Apple II division employees into our building. So, someday when you're running large companies, don't ever let a division operate like that, where one part of the company cannot visit the other part of the company, especially if that part of the company is paying for the part they can't get in. That's guaranteed to piss them people off. So the Apple II division came up with a great joke about us, which is how many Macintosh division employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer is 1. The Macintosh division employee holds up the light bulb and expects the entire universe to revolve around him. There's a Microsoft version of this joke. The Microsoft version is how many Microsoft employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer is none, because Bill Gates has declared darkness the new standard. So I'm going to give you a speech tonight about enchantment. This is something that I learned through my career, starting in the jewelry business, believe it or not. My first real job was in the jewelry business, schlepping gold and diamonds. And that's a very tough business where you really have to enchant people with design, because at some level, gold and diamonds are commodities. They may be expensive commodities, but 18-karat gold is 18-karat gold. And, diamonds, more or less, there's cut and clarity and carat and all that. But, a diamond is a diamond at some level also. From then, I went to Apple. Then I started some software companies. I became a venture capitalist, a writer, speaker. I returned to Apple in 1995 as Apple's chief evangelist, spent another couple of years there, and then left to form an early-stage venture capital firm. So a little bit more about this speech. Basically, having watched high-tech speakers for about 30 years, I learned 2 points about high-tech speakers. First, they pretty much suck as speakers. Second, they go long. And that's a deadly combination, you know? It's like you can't skate and you can't shoot, you know? I mean, if you suck and you go short, it's okay. And if you're great and you go long, it's okay. But if you suck and go long, it's like being stupid and arrogant. It's a bad, bad combination. So what I do for my speeches is I use the top 10 format. So just in case you think I suck, you know approximately how much longer I'll suck. I have 10 key points in this speech. And I hope to educate you so that you can become more enchanting people, so that you can influence people's minds and hearts and actions, not in an evil, manipulative, negative way, but in a positive way towards positive change. And so that's my message tonight. But before my message, I just want to show you that, you know, like lots of people can come up here and say, yeah, this is my favorite jersey and all that. But I'm going to show you, well, first of all, I brought it with me because I never like to leave it, you know, anywhere. But this first picture is me in this jersey. And as you can see, it's not on University of Oregon ice. I was at Notre Dame about 10 days ago, and I played hockey there, and I decided to wear my favorite U of O jersey. So that's how much I like this jersey. Okay, so now let's get to some content. So the start of great enchantment is you have to be likable. I mean, think about it. Have you ever been enchanted by someone you didn't like? Probably not. This is a very good illustration of likability. This is Richard Branson. He and I were in Moscow to make a speech, and he came to the speaker ready room in the back, and I saw him. I'd never met him before, and he asked me if I flew Virgin. And I said, you know, Richard, I don't know how to tell you this, but I've never flown Virgin. It's because I'm a United Airlines Global Services level customer, which is the highest level of United. And so I told him I didn't want to risk my Global Services status. And when I told him that, he did what you see. He went down on his knees, and he started polishing my shoes with his jacket. And so this is the moment I started flying Virgin America. And Steve Jobs, God bless him, may he rest in peace. Let me just say that it's unlikely that Steve Jobs would get down on his knees and polish your shoes for you to use a Macintosh, okay? This is likability. The start of likability is a great smile. This is not a great smile. This is what's called the grin and bear it smile. This flight attendant is not truly happy to see the customer. This flight attendant is faking it, and she is only using her jaw muscles. A great smile is called a Duchenne smile, and a Duchenne smile uses a second set of muscles, the eye muscles. And you can tell if a person is a great smiler and is truly happy by this thing over here called crow's feet. You actually want crow's feet. Crow's feet is a good thing. No more Botox, no more plastic surgery. You want crow's feet, okay? So this is a woman named Mari Smith. She's a Facebook marketing expert. And when I saw this picture of her, I sent her an email. I said, Mari, I want to use your picture for all my speeches. I actually have good news for you, Mari, and bad news. The good news is, if you let me use your picture, I will tell thousands of people about you every year. The bad news is, Mari, honestly, the reason why you're in my presentation is because you have crow's feet. Good sport that she is, she let me use her picture. Step one is a great Duchenne smile. Step two is you have to learn to accept others, no matter, for example, how much jewelry they have on their face, no matter what gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, religion. If you want to be liked, you have to like and accept others first. This is a woman who works in the tourist areas of Edinburgh. So if you ever go to Edinburgh, you'll probably bump into her. She has a very interesting business model. She asked you to pay £1 if you want to take a picture of her. That is actually a better business model than many companies I funded, okay? So you have to learn to accept others. The third component of likability is you should default to yes. That is, you should always be thinking, how can I help the person that I just met? Instead of thinking, how can that person help me? Or what is this person going to try to get me to do? Default to yes. Now, you may think there's a negative to that. What if they ask me to do something I don't want to do? And it's been my experience, having done this for decades, it's very seldom that it happens. Most people have a lot of class, and they don't ask you to do inappropriate things. Arguably, in the 5 times that it was inappropriate, those people were not worth enchanting. However, the upside of defaulting to yes far, far outperforms the downside of doubting people and defaulting to no. Default to yes. It'll make you a likable person. Next thing you need to do is you need to become trustworthy, because you can be liked but not trusted. You could like a Hollywood celebrity. That doesn't mean you trust the Hollywood celebrity. You could, at an extreme, like Charlie Sheen but not trust Charlie Sheen. Okay? So the start of trustworthiness is this definite sequence. The way it works is you have to trust others before they will trust you. It's not chicken or egg. Definite sequence. You trust others, they will trust you. Amazon trusts you when you buy a Kindle ebook, because they will let you return that ebook for up to a week. Many people could read the ebook in a week. They trust you not to do that and return it. So people have come to trust Amazon. A second example is Zappos. Zappos, where millions of women buy shoes without seeing them or trying them on. What a concept. If someone had told me this at the start of Zappos, that we're going to enable women to buy shoes without trying them on or seeing them, I would have told him he was nuts. No woman would do this. And yet, millions of women do this now. Zappos is trusted. It's trusted because it trusted first. It instituted a very interesting policy, which is it would pay shipping both ways. Buy the shoe. If you don't like it, you can return it. We will also pay shipping for it to come back to us. And the classic Northwestern company that personifies trust is, of course, Nordstrom, where you can allegedly return a tire, even though Nordstrom doesn't sell tires. It trusts you that much. Next thing you need to do is to become a baker, not an eater. An eater sees the world as a zero-sum game. If you eat the pie, I don't eat the pie. The more you eat of a pie, the less I eat of a pie. A baker sees the world very differently. A baker sees the world as, I can bake more pies. I can bake bigger pies. Everybody can have a piece of the pie. Bakers are trusted. Eaters are not. Become a baker, not an eater. Last thing is to find something to agree on. If you're not making great progress in terms of being trusted by people or trusted by an organization, try to find something to agree on, the littlest thing, to establish a beachhead. When I was at Apple in the mid-'80s, we thought Macintosh would be a spreadsheet database and word processing machine. Basically, we were 0 for 3 there. Luckily, there was a product from Seattle called Aldous PageMaker, and Aldous PageMaker created a field of flowers called desktop publishing, and desktop publishing saved Apple. If it wasn't for desktop publishing and Aldous PageMaker, Apple would have died. And if Apple would have died, we would all have phones today that had real keypads and with batteries that lasted for more than a day. Okay? This would be a different world. Luckily, Apple and the marketplace found something they agreed on, desktop publishing. I think all this was a gift from God to Apple because it saved Apple. I believe in God, and one of the main reasons why I believe in God is that, in my mind, there is no other explanation for Apple's continued survival than the existence of God. There are no atheist Apple customers. So, now you may be wondering, what the hell does this picture have to do with anything? So the apocryphal story is that 2 Latin American countries were negotiating a difficult diplomatic issue. They were in a neutral third country, making no progress. One diplomat says to the other diplomat, we need to resolve this by Friday because on Friday I have to return home because I promised my wife I would take her to the opera. He then told the other diplomat, I hate the opera, but my wife forces me to take her to the opera. The other diplomat then said, oh, your wife forces you to take her to the opera too? My wife does the same thing. They finally found something to agree on. Maybe not the diplomatic issue, but they found a dislike in opera to be something in common. From that, they formed a relationship that solved the problem. So, if you want to be liked and trusted, find something to agree on. It can be the use of your computer as a desktop publishing machine. It can be hockey. It can be the dislike of opera. Find something to agree on. Next thing you need to do is perfect your product or service. So I will tell you that I've tried to enchant people with great stuff, and I've tried to enchant people with crap. And it is a lot easier to enchant people with great stuff. So I want to help you define great stuff. The acronym I created is DICEE, D-I-C-E-E. Great stuff is deep, lots of features, lots of functionality. It does a lot. The I stands for intelligent. When you look at it, you say, this company understood my pain. This company understood my problem. I'll give you an example. This is a GT500 Shelby Mustang. This Mustang has 550 horsepower. Next year, it's going to have 650 horsepower. This car goes 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. This is a badass Mustang. I know people in Oregon, you're not into cars, but let me put it in terms you will understand. Think of this as 5 Priuses. Okay? So, I, as a major carbon footprint kind of guy, I really want to buy this car. I would love to buy this car. Asian American going through midlife crisis. This is the perfect car for me. But I have a problem. I have 4 children. They are 6, 10, 16, and 18. Okay? The 16-year-old is about to get his license. The 18-year-old already has his license. And I know no matter how carefully I plan it, there will be instances where they drop me at the airport. This means they have to drive this car home. I don't think it's moral for me to unleash upon society either son in a 550 horsepower car. That's just wrong. Luckily, Ford has a very intelligent product. This intelligent product is called a My Key. And the salient feature of the My Key is that it enables you to control the top speed of the car. So I can program the key so that the car cannot go faster than 55 miles an hour. Now, the My Key does not control how long it takes to get to 55, but it controls that it can go no longer faster than 55. That is a very intelligent product. You know, before I came here, I met with an Oregon company that showed me a product that simplifies email and simplifies video and simplifies sharing pictures, you know, perhaps very well suited for seniors. And you look at that product, you say, wow, these people get it. They understand, you know, how difficult it is for someone to comprehend email and all the stuff coming in your inbox and the spam and all this kind of stuff. Another example of an intelligent product. Great products are intelligent. Great products are also complete. It's the totality of the solution. It's not just the software. It's the software and the resellers and the VARs and the APIs and the documentation and the conferences and the webinars. It's the totality of software. Great products are also empowering. They make you feel more creative and more productive. They don't fight you. Some operating systems fight you. They make you feel stupid. They make you feel frustrated. Other operating systems make you more creative and productive, empowering people. And the last thing is great products are elegant. Somebody cared about the user interface design. So, if you want to enchant people with something great, ask yourself, are you creating something that's deep, intelligent, complete, empowering, and elegant? Are you rolling the dicey? Next thing is to launch this product or service. The key to a launch is you tell a great story. Some examples of great stories. My buddy and I, we were frustrated because you couldn't use a computer unless you drove to a university or drove to a large company or worked for the government. And surely we thought there must be a better way. Why can't computers be smaller and cheaper and easier to use? So we started Apple. Or my girlfriend wanted to sell her Pez collection. There was no way for her to do this online. So I started eBay. It's a total bullshit story, but it's a great story. It's a great story. Tell a story. Tell a story about how, your parents were getting old, and so you had to find a solution to share pictures and video and email with them. Tell a story. It's not about patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, enterprise quality, carrier class software. Tell a story of why you created this thing. Next thing is you plant many seeds. In the old days, marketing was top-down. You sucked up to the Wall Street Journal. They told all the great unwashed masses what to do. The great unwashed masses, being the great unwashed masses that they are, just listened to the Wall Street Journal and did what the Wall Street Journal told them to do. Therefore, you sucked up to the Wall Street Journal. They made your product or service. Okay? That world is gone. I'm not saying you still shouldn't be nice to the Wall Street Journal, but now you need to worry about the nobodies. Because nobodies are the new somebodies, right? The theoretical Lonely Boy 15. Lonely Boy 15 is on Twitter, and he has 15 followers, not 5 million. And he doesn't work for the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, CNET, Wired, GigaOM, or TechCrunch. It's Lonely Boy 15. He's still living with his mother. He still has Buzz Lightyear sheets, okay? It's Lonely Boy 15. But Lonely Boy 15 loves your product or service. Lonely Boy 15 tells his 15 followers, and they tell their 15 followers, and one day you have thousands of followers. At that point, the Wall Street Journal has to write about you. Nobody in the Wall Street Journal declared Instagram a success when it came out. Nobody at the Wall Street Journal declared Twitter a success 7 years ago. It's because those products reached critical mass, because a bunch of nobodies embraced it, that at this point, they have to write about Twitter. They have to write about Instagram. If you believe in this theory of mine, then you have to plant many seeds. You need to plant many seeds because it's easy to identify Walt Mossberg at the Wall Street Journal. It's very hard to find Lonely Boy 15. To find Lonely Boy 15, you have to put your product out there so that Lonely Boy 15 effectively can find you. This is a very much more democratic form of marketing. Lonely Boy 15, plant many seeds. The next thing is to use the salient kind of points to describe your product, your service, or your cause. On the left side, you see what an industry likes to use. On the right side, you see what people are really caring about. Let's say you're in the food business. You walk into a market, you pick up a bag of chips. If you can read 4-point type, you see that there's 2 servings in the bag. Each serving of the bag has 150 calories. 300 calories. 2 servings in this bag of chips. 300 calories. Just what is 300 calories? It's a unit of measure of energy, right? But truly, what is 300 calories? It would be a lot more effective if the bag said, if you eat this bag of chips, you have to run 20 miles. I'm not saying they would sell more chips, but it would definitely be a more salient way of explaining just how much crap is in this bag. Next thing, in the not-for-profit business, people like to think in terms of dollars. But the donors, they're not thinking in terms of dollars. They're thinking in terms of, if I give $500 to this not-for-profit, how many months of food will it buy for that family in Ethiopia? That's what they care about. Months of food, not dollars. In the gadget business, I don't know anybody who wakes up in the morning saying, if only I had 32 gigabytes, I would be a happy person. They wake up in the morning saying, I need a small, thin, cool, beautiful device that can hold 1,000 songs, 10,000 songs, 500 movies. Is there an app for that? So I want you to focus on the kind of terms on the right side of the screen, the salient points. How many miles do I have to run if I eat this bag of chips? How many months of food will my $500 donation buy? How many songs can this MP3, iPod, iPhone, iPad player hold? That's the salient kind of point. The next thing is to overcome resistance to your enchantment. This is one very successful story. In the mid-'80s, believe it or not, the electronic gaming business was tarnished. It was failing. And so retailers did not want to stock games anymore. Nintendo realized it had a big problem. If retailers wouldn't stock its games, how were they going to sell them for Christmas? So what it did is it added this cheapo robot to the game and started calling it an educational toy. And then it's trained kids to ask their parents for an educational toy to learn robotics for Christmas. That is very different than asking your parents for a game for Christmas. It overcame resistance to their game by repositioning it as a toy to learn robotics. One more way, or several more ways, to break down resistance. One is to provide social proof. When the iPod first came out, one of the most striking things about an iPod was that it had white earbuds. You noticed white earbuds because nothing else had white earbuds. Pretty soon you figured out white earbud equals iPod. You noticed more and more white earbuds. One day, the resistance was overcome, and you bought an iPod. When you bought an iPod, guess what? You added to the pool of white earbuds. So now people saw more white earbuds. So then they were more likely to buy an iPod. So then there were more white earbuds. So then they were more likely to buy an iPod. It became a terrific upward spiral. I am not sure that Apple planned it this way, that they thought, we'll make our earbuds different so we can provide social proof. But it sure worked out that way. Provide social proof. Next thing you do is you can use data, a data set, to change a mindset. Mindsets are very difficult to change. People have this misconception and it's just stuck in their brains. I'm going to show you how you can use a data set to influence how people think about a mindset. So let's say the mindset is that to this day, many people believe that other than in the United States and maybe Western Europe, most people have large families and live short lives. Okay? Lots of kids, short life. There may be a causative relationship there, but lots of kids, short lives. So this axis, the horizontal axis, measures the number of children per woman in a country. This axis measures the average life expectancy in that country. The colors are determined by this map. So yellow is the Americas, orange is Russia and Western Europe, light green is the Middle East, navy blue is Africa, India is light blue, and red is Australia and Asia. So if you looked at this map in 1950, you'd say, yeah, pretty much it's America and Western Europe that have long lives and few kids. And I think to this day, many people still believe this. But watch what this data set does over the next 59 years. So we're going from 1950 to 2009. And what you see here is the data has changed. Everybody's moving up here into this upper left-hand corner. In this upper left-hand corner, it means that it's not just the Americas and Western Europe, it's much of the world have much fewer kids and much longer lives. Most people would not have guessed this is true. The place that still has more kids and shorter lives is still Africa. But the rest of the world has joined this upper left-hand corner. This is a demonstration by a company or an organization called Gapminder. So if you want to see more of this kind of data sets to change mindsets, go to gapminder.org. Very interesting stuff. Next thing you do is to be sure to influence all the influencers, not just the decision maker that you assume is the main person. Many people assume it's the father. You'd be wrong 80% of the time. It's the mother. Sometimes it's the sister-in-law. Sometimes it's the grandfather. You never know. You need to enchant everybody. And you know what? In my family in particular, it's the daughter. My 10-year-old daughter is the key to my happiness. If you make her happy, you make me happy. You want to get through to me, you get through to my daughter. Now, I want you to suspend your disbelief. We're going to go off on a segue here. You know, the mark of a good speaker is you never get distracted and off topic. The mark of a great speaker is you can get off topic and come back. I'm going to show you that. So, how many of you have daughters in this room? Lots of you. Good. How many of you have rented or bought or gone to see Never Say Never, the Justin Bieber movie? How many of you? 3 of you? Only 3 of you love your daughter? Okay. So I want you to suspend disbelief, and I want you to rent or buy that movie. If you want to be a great marketer and a great user of social media, you need to see that movie. Because that movie, you will learn several things. One is, watch how Justin Bieber's mother made Justin Bieber a success using YouTube. Not $200 million in marketing and promotion. YouTube. That's what she used. Then you'll see a very good relationship between vocal coach and Justin Bieber. The relationship of mentor-mentee, very interesting, very well done in that movie. And finally, we're all after word of mouth, viral marketing, where people are talking about you and they love your stuff. Watch how Justin Bieber's people go into the parking lots of concerts and find teenage girls who don't have tickets and gives them tickets. And the pure joy that those tickets bring, somewhat equal to my joy of getting an Oregon jersey. Just watch the pure joy that brought those girls. The word of mouth, the viral aspect of that. You'll learn a lot about marketing and social media if you rent or buy Never Say Never. I will give you your money back if you feel that you didn't learn anything about marketing and social media if you rent or buy that movie, okay? Trust me. Trust your speaker. You need to learn to trust your keynote speaker. Next thing, we'll make a little transition from Justin Bieber to the Grateful Dead. In order to make your enchantment endure, you need to do things. It doesn't just happen. One very good example is the Grateful Dead. They have endured for decades. How has the Grateful Dead endured? One important way is that at a Grateful Dead concert, there's an area set aside for what's called tapers. Not that anybody uses tape anymore, right? But at a Grateful Dead concert, there is an area set aside so that people can essentially pirate the concert. They encourage people to tape the concert and then share it. The rest of the record industry, they're suing little old ladies to download cello music from Napster, right? But no. The Grateful Dead is encouraging piracy of its concerts. It wants people to spread the word about the Grateful Dead. That has made their enchantment endure. More ways. First, build an ecosystem. The total infrastructure of consultant, developer, reseller, user group, website and blog, special interest group, and conferences. All these people pulling for you. Imagine the immense power of Apple, the immense kind of defense that all those iOS developers provide, and the Android developers for Google, and the Macintosh developers for Apple, and the Windows developers for Microsoft. These people are creating products and services that the mothership cannot or will not create. But you want more than just yourself to be supporting your customers, making your product better. You want an entire ecosystem. Next thing is to invoke reciprocation. Reciprocation is a very powerful factor for making your enchantment last. This carpet depicts a war between Italy and Ethiopia. Italy invaded Ethiopia in the 1930s. When that occurred, the people of Mexico collected money and sent money to Ethiopia to help the Ethiopians. 85 years later, this big earthquake in Mexico. The Ethiopians weren't doing so well either. They had a famine. But even though they were in the middle of a famine, they collected money and sent it to Mexico because they wanted to reciprocate for when Mexico helped Ethiopia. Another example, just like this, right after the Civil War, the people of New York bought the people of Charleston a fire truck. Actually, they bought them two because the first one was on a boat that sank. The people of Charleston vowed that they would reciprocate should the people of New York ever need assistance. So guess what? After 9/11, the people of Charleston raised $500,000 and sent money to New York to buy a fire truck 150 years later. 2 power tips about reciprocation by the master of persuasion and influence, Bob Cialdini. So, you will be my subject, you in the pink, okay? So, let's say that I'm a baker, not an eater. I default to yes. So, I do something for you, okay? So, you thank me, okay? Now, what's the optimal response to her when she thanks me? It is not simply, you're welcome. It is, I know you would do the same for me. Because by saying to her, I know you would do the same for me, I'm telling her, you have lots of class. I know you're a good person. I know you'll do the same for me. I'm also telling you, I know you will do the same for me. I am putting her on record. She owes me. She owes me. That's the optimal response. The second power tip about reciprocation is, I need to enable her to pay me back. Right now, she feels burdened that she owes me. She doesn't want to ask me to do more things. I, as a defaulter to yes, a baker, not an eater, I am happy to do more for her, but I am not clairvoyant. I don't know what else I can do for her. So we're stuck. She won't ask me to do anymore. I can't do anymore because I don't know what she wants. I need to give her a way to pay me back so we can clear the decks. She can ask me to do more stuff. I will happily do more stuff, and we can have an even more enchanting relationship. So, I need to enable her to pay me back. It's actually doing her a favor by enabling her to pay me back. 2 power tips for you on reciprocation. The last part of making your enchantment endure is to not rely on money. Listen, I'm all for compensation. Don't get me wrong. But if you need to pay people to be enchanted with your product or service or cause, something is wrong. You're not likable enough, you're not trustworthy enough, or it's not good enough. Commissions and affiliate fees and all that kind of stuff can make a good thing better, but it cannot make a bad thing good. If you have to rely on money, you need to do a reality check on your likability, trustworthiness, and quality. Next thing you need to do is to become a great presenter. If you want to be a good enchanter, you need to be able to speak. Step 1 of great presentations is you need to customize the introduction. Customize the intro so you show that you know exactly where you are and you know exactly who you're talking to. Okay? So, this is an example. This is an LG washer and dryer. It is my LG washer and dryer. The scenario here is that I was in Brazil speaking to the Latin American management of LG. I use these pictures to open up my speech, telling the Latin American management of LG, I too am an LG customer. I love my LG washer and dryer. I bought that LG washer because it has a steam cycle. To this day, I have never used that steam cycle. But when I read the brochure, I thought it was so cool that I could steam stuff. Okay? But here's the back channel story. The back channel story is I was already in Brazil when I thought, God, you should show the picture of your LG washer and dryer. But I was in Brazil, so I sent a text message to my 2 older boys, the 16-year-old and 18-year-old, the 2 boys that I would not like them to drive a Mustang. Okay? And I try to invoke a little reciprocation. This is Dad. I want you to get off Call of Duty and get off Halo. Go downstairs, use the iPhone that I bought you. Take a picture of the LG washer and dryer. Either of you, I bought you each an iPhone. Go downstairs, take a picture. I need it right away because I'm about to go and make a speech. So the older boy's name is Nick. The younger boy's name is Noah, okay? Nothing happens. I send a text message to my older boy, Nick, and this is the sequence of events. Nick, did you get my text messages? Nick says, Noah, his younger brother said he took the pictures. By the way, since you're talking to LG, can you get us TVs? And you know, there is defaulting to yes. There is baking, not eating. There is reciprocation. There's also stupidity, okay? So my answer was, I doubt it. I doubt it. Welcome to my life. Welcome to my life. Always be closing. ABC. Always be closing. So, I'll show you some examples when I speak around the world. I don't always have a jersey from that country, nor am I always at Notre Dame using it, so I have to use other kinds of pictures. Okay, so I'll show you some pictures I've used. For that speech in Russia, I used this picture. This is Red Square. And I opened up my speech in Moscow showing this picture, saying, wow, I had no idea you Russians had such big balls. Then when I spoke in Scotland, I showed them that I went to Crombie's. This is Crombie's up here. And I checked out this delicacy called haggis, which, yeah, it tastes the way it sounds. So the people in Edinburgh loved me. But this is the best picture of all. How many of you have been to Istanbul? Lots of people. Istanbul is the most enchanting city in the world, if you were to ask me. I love Istanbul. So this is me in Istanbul in the Grand Bazaar. The Grand Bazaar is like the Mall of America, only 500 years old. And so this guy is the shopkeeper, and you see, you can't see too well because he has glasses on, but I'm telling you right there, there's frickin' crow's feet. This guy is happy. This is a Duchenne smile. You know why? Because this guy's thinking, this dumbass American's going to buy this fez. This stinking fez has been in my family's shop for 4 generations. I finally found a live one. This dumbass American's going to buy this fez. He thinks Turkish people wear this kind of fez. He's going to buy this fez. I bring joy wherever I go in the world. Point here is to customize the introduction. The first few minutes is the key. Okay? Customize the introduction. Then, you need to sell your dream. If you ever do a demo of something, don't talk about patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, enterprise quality, scalable software, hardware, whatever. Don't use terms like that. You know, I'll give you a rule of thumb. Apply what's called the opposite test, which is imagine that you are hearing the pitch of your competition. Are they using adjectives that are the opposite of what you say? Because if they're not, you're all saying the same thing. So in the software business, if you say your product is fast, scalable, and bug-free, it is meaningless unless your competition is saying our product is slow, full of bugs, hard to use, and can't scale. If your competition is saying that, hallelujah. Say you're fast, bug-free, and scalable. Unlikely. The opposite test. So when Steve Jobs introduced an iPhone, he did not stand up and hold up the iPhone and say, today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm introducing the iPhone 4. It is $188 worth of parts manufactured at a factory in China where people kill themselves all the time. Okay? That's not how he pitches an iPhone. He pitches an iPhone as beautiful and thin and cool, and it makes you sexy and creative, and it makes you more wonderful, and it makes you more enchanting, and this is it. $500. It'll change your life. Sell your dream. Sell your dream. Next thing is the Guy Kawasaki rule of PowerPoint. The optimal number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation is 10. 10. You'll be fortunate to get 10 ideas across. Now, you guys at the University of Oregon, you're not stupid. You're sitting there thinking, Guy, you're telling us to use 10. So far, you've used about 40. Right? What's the deal? Such a hypocrite. I'll explain. You're not me. Right? All right? Okay. So, use 10 slides. Use 10 slides. You should be able to give those 10 slides in 20 minutes. Why 20 minutes? Very scientific reason. How many of you use Macs in this room? Oh, lots of you. How many of you are oppressed and use Windows? Okay. So you see all the people who use Windows? They need 40 minutes to make their laptop work with the projector. So I made this recommendation for the least common denominator, or the lowest common denominator, right? So Macintosh people, take in your Macintosh, hook it up with the projector, boom, you're ready to go. You have 60 minutes. Yeah. Windows people, take it in there, hook it up to the projector, restart the projector, check if it's the cable, right? Restart the projector, check the preferences, check the resolution, restart the computer. You need 40 minutes. 10 slides, 20 minutes. Macintosh people, you have 40 extra minutes. Third thing is the optimal size font in a PowerPoint presentation is 30 points. Many people use 8, 10, or 12. They use 8, 10, or 12 because they haven't practiced enough. They use 8, 10, or 12, and they write out the text. Then when they give the presentation, what do? They read the text. What does the audience do when they hear somebody reading the text verbatim? The audience says, bozo, reading slides verbatim. I can read silently to myself faster than bozo can read them to me. I will simply read ahead. You don't need to have the presenter there. You just need someone to change the slides, okay? You will lose your audience. Now, I'll give you a rule of thumb for this. Take the oldest person's age in the group and divide it by 2. That's your optimal font size. 60-year-old, 30. 50-year-old, 25. Listen, someday you may be pitching a VC. VCs are getting younger and younger. Someday you may be pitching a 16-year-old VC, okay? That day, 8-point font, no problem. But until that day, 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30 points. Number 8, using technology. It is a great time to enchant people using technology because we have reached the trifecta of marketing. Fast, free, and ubiquitous. The trifecta of marketing. No more Super Bowl commercial. Super Bowl commercial is slow, only happens once a year. It is not free, $6 million per minute. And it's not ubiquitous. Not everybody watches the Super Bowl. Okay? So what you want now is to use Twitter, and Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Google+. Every one of those things is more or less free. In fact, if you had to spend money on that, something's wrong with you. Every one of those things is free, it's fast, and everybody's using them. So, step 1 in using technology to enchant people is you need to remove the speed bumps. This is an example of CAPTCHA. How many of you have encountered CAPTCHA while registering for a site? Yeah, so we all understand. The purpose of CAPTCHA is to reduce the number of customers you have, right? Okay, so you go to this site that you're just thinking about joining and you see, I have to type in this word. It's either Holber or Holder or something, but you can kind of futz around and take a few shots and you probably get this right. This one is a little more difficult. How many of you know what language this is? Okay, 6 of you. It's the same number of people who went to the Justin Bieber movie. Okay, 6 of you. Okay, the 6 of you who know that that's Hebrew, how many of you have a Hebrew keyboard? Oh, let's see, roughly 0 of you. So in this whole audience of 600 people, 0 of you could sign up for this service. That could be a problem, right? You need to do stuff. You need to remove these kind of speed bumps. This is ridiculous, this kind of speed bump. Why don't you just tell people not to register for our website? That would be better. We don't need you. We already have 800 million people. We don't need you anymore. Okay, you're a late adopter. What the hell do you know? Okay, I'll show you a company that has figured out how to remove a speed bump. It's a company called Longevity. Sungevity is in the business of installing residential solar panels. One of the first speed bumps in a residential solar panel is the appointment, the first appointment. To set up an appointment, coordinate your calendar. The person has to come to your house, look at your roof, measure your roof, do all that kind of stuff, right? You have to be home. It's a pain in the ass. Sungevity has figured a way around that. Sungevity, all you do is you go to their website and you put in your home address. From the home address, it looks at a satellite photo. The satellite photo shows the roof. They can mock up the size of the solar panel on the roof, therefore the cost of the solar panel on the roof, therefore the amount of power that that solar panel can put out. There is no speed bump there. All you do is you put in your home address, and they will calculate it for you. No appointment necessary. I think that's a great example of using satellite photos to remove a speed bump. Next thing you need to do is understand that in social media, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Google+, you need to provide value. If you are a really famous celebrity, God bless you, just tweet out that your cat rolled over. You know, tweet out that the line at Starbucks is long. Tweet out that you bought a black Prius, whatever it is. Okay. But if you are not a drop-dead celebrity, you need to provide value. Value like information. What just happened at the Facebook developer conference? What just happened with the Google I/O conference? What did this company announce? What happened with Apple? What is the new iPad? What is different about the new iPad? And then you provide insights. What does it mean that Google announced this? What does it mean that Twitter announced this? What does it mean that Facebook announced this? And if it's something good, how do I get to see the Facebook timeline before it's rolled out? How do I get on Google Plus before everybody else does? If you want to be successful in social media, you need to provide value. And value comes in three primary forms: information, analysis, or assistance. And then some rules of engagement. You need to engage fast. The life of a tweet or a Facebook update is 2 or 3 hours. If it's not 2 or 3 hours, it's dead. It's gone. You have to comment right back. I think the life of an email is roughly 48 hours. If you answered your email in 48 hours, you would stand out in the crowd. That's my goal. I fail at it miserably, but I really try 48 hours. Fast, flat. Again, the Wall Street Journal emails you, of course you answer. But what if Lonely Boy 15 emails you? Somebody who has a clout score of -50, right? What do? You answer him. Because Lonely Boy 15 may be the person who makes you tip. The world is flat. And finally, you have to do this all the time. Social media is no longer an experiment that you do when everything else is done. Social media is core to marketing today. Next thing you need to understand, especially students, is how to enchant your boss. The key to enchanting your boss is very simple. When your boss asks you to do something, you drop everything else and you do it. If you learn this simple lesson about enchanting bosses, you will go far in this world. You may not think that this is optimal. You are doing something more important than what the boss asked you. It might not even be fair. The boss is interrupting you, right? Tough. I'm telling you, this is the way to enchant your boss. When your boss asks you to do something, drop everything else. And you men who are married and men who will become married, this is very good advice for you in life, okay? When your wife asks you to do something, don't explain to her why what you're doing is more important than what she's asking, because you are wrong, okay? You should just drop whatever the hell you're doing and listen to your wife. You will have a much happier life, all right? Drop everything else. So, pretend that hypothetically your boss asks you to create a PowerPoint presentation for her. The next thing you need to do to impress her, dropping everything, is to prototype fast, which is you come back in a few hours and you say, this is a text-only version of the PowerPoint presentation. Am I going along the right path? This has two very good effects. The first effect is it's tangible proof that you dropped everything. You come right back. The second advantage of this is because you come right back and now there's a lot of time to fix things, it's much more likely that you will in fact deliver a very good end result. Prototype fast. This is actually the prototype that I sent the designer of my slides. I sent her this format, exactly what you see, and I said, make this beautiful. Next thing is, you deliver bad news early. If anybody tells you in business that you should deliver bad news late, they're wrong. The concept that you should deliver bad news at the very last possible moment, because up to that moment, you're hoping that the miracle will occur and prevent the bad news, is flawed. That very seldom happens. The faster you deliver bad news, the more on top of it you will appear to be, and the more opportunity there is to fix things before the bad news really happens. Don't wait for the last minute. Deliver bad news early. You can deliver good news late. God bless you. Go into your boss's office, right before something's about to happen and say, I have to tell you, we doubled sales. Anybody can deal with that. That's good. You deliver good news at the very last possible moment. Hallelujah. But you deliver bad news as early as possible. Now, as you progress in life, you also need to learn how to enchant people who work for you. The key to this is taken from an author named Daniel Pink, who wrote a great book called Drive. And he says you need to pay people fairly. Take that as a given. But then beyond fair pay, how do you enchant people? You provide a map. The M in MAP stands for mastery. Come work for me and you will master new skills. You will become a better employee. You will be working autonomously, independently. We don't breathe down your neck at this company. And finally, this company is working towards a higher purpose. We're making the world a better place. We're making people more creative and more productive. So come work for me. You'll learn to master new skills, working autonomously towards a higher purpose. That's how you enchant an employee. Second way you enchant an employee is to empower them to take action, that they don't have to check with you before they make a decision to do what's right for the customer. And the third way to enchant an employee is to suck it up. How many of you watch Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe? It is a great show. What makes Mike Rowe enchanting? What makes Mike Rowe enchanting is he is willing to do the dirty job. The paint factory, the poi factory. He'll crawl into the sewer and dig out the dead rats. He'll go into the house and dig out the dead cats. He will perform artificial insemination on cows, pigs, turkeys, or ostriches. He'll do whatever it takes. He will do the dirty job. You want to be a boss who enchants your employees? Show that you are willing to do the dirty job. That you don't ask people to do something that you yourself would not do. Think Mike Rowe. Sucking it up. This is my second to the last slide. If you want a PDF of this presentation, just drop an email to gina@garage.com. We'll be happy to send you a PDF of this presentation. Secondly, the woman who makes my slides, I love her. She makes great slides for me. So this is her website. If you ever need great slides, go to that website, look at her work. She does really beautiful work. Her name is Anna. And her website is AnnaFXFZ. And then this is what happened. This is my last slide. This is my last slide. So I believe we're having a signing after this, right? Okay. So we're having a signing after this. And I just want to explain to you that this is what the book cover looks like. And I'll be happy to sign your book. Let's just explain that process. So I signed the outside of the book. 2 reasons why. First, it's faster. Second, the reason why you get a book signed is to show off that you met the author. If it's signed on the inside, who's going to see it? You need to sign it on the outside so that people, as you're sitting around here, and you're studying or something, and you're in the library, and somebody, at the next carol or across the table says, wow, Randy or Rodney, you're irresistible. Tell me about yourself, okay? That's why it's on the outside. Now, my writing is not so neat. So I need to explain to you that I'm going to sign your book, Resisting You is Futile. And the reason why I'm explaining what my writing says is because in my previous book, I would sign kick butt. Okay? And then one day at a signing, this woman came up to me after I signed her book and said, Guy, why did you sign my book, Nice Butt? Really? I'm not making this story up. And I said to her, well, lady, it's because it's true. You have a nice butt. And so I don't want to ever make that mistake again. So now I'm explaining to you. It says resisting you is futile. Now, I will sign your book. Kick butt, nice butt, lick butt, whatever you want. But I prefer to sign it, resisting you is futile. And so that is enchantment. To review, are we doing Q&A? We are. Okay, so let's do Q&A, and then I'll review. So do you have any questions for me about enchantment or hockey or whatever? I don't know. I can't answer too many hockey questions, but yeah. Do you have any questions for me? Is this the only mic? Yes, there's one mic here. So, any questions? No questions. Where? No, but you have to come to the mic.
So my name is Alex Gross, and I have a question for you. So where did you pick up all of these skills? Was it all via experience, or did you read a lot, or was it a combination of both?
Yeah. Okay. So, the question is, where did I pick up all these ideas, right? And when people ask you, how long did it take you to write a book like this? In one sense, the answer is 9 months. In another, the answer is 25 years. Yeah. It's more than 25 years. Okay. So when I write a book, I use Microsoft Word. I write an outline. 3 levels deep. I try to obviously put my thoughts into place, but then I go and read every book in the genre. So I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read Influence by Bob Cialdini. I read Getting to Yes. I read everything that had to do with social psychology, influence, persuasion, all those books. And so I can't tell you that every idea in here is original to me. In fact, any business author who tells you that his book is completely original is lying to you. But one of the things is you have to know what to steal, right? So if you break into somebody's house and you steal the pillowcases, you're not too smart, right? You need to know you need to steal the LG TV. Yeah. So that's the process. So it is experience tempered, or it's research of all the genre of that, all the books of that genre, plus my personal experience, which yielded this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
I am also another Alex. I was wondering, what do you think of the future of AI?
The future of AI?
Yeah, and if it would be possible to sell it like as an entrepreneur, and also what made Steve Jobs so charismatic?
Oh, so the future of AI, that's very difficult. It seems like people have been asking about the future of AI for about 25 years now.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say it's Siri. I don't consider myself an AI expert. To me, with the computing power, it seems to me that it should become just part of the world. We're just reaching that stage. And in a sense, Siri is maybe the first sort of manifestation of AI that more or less works, right? So it's getting there. It's natural language, it's recognition and all that. I think the future bodes very well for that. The second question was, what about Steve Jobs?
Can you break down his charisma of why he was...
Yeah, so breaking down Steve Jobs' charisma, the key to Steve Jobs is that he was a perfectionist. He had brilliant visions. He executed maybe 5 or 6 visions. Most people are lucky to pull off one vision, but he did Apple I, Apple II, Macintosh, iPod, iPhone, iPad. That's 6 right there, right? How many people can say they did 6 revolutions? Most people can't say they did 1. If you did 1, you can declare victory. He did 6. Steve Jobs was not driven by market research. Market research at Apple is Steve Jobs' left hemisphere is connected to the right hemisphere. That's the whole focus group, his head. Steve Jobs was an autocrat. It was at most you could say Apple is a benign autocracy. It certainly is not a democracy. The Apple org chart is roughly Steve Jobs with 25,000 direct reports. Steve Jobs was not a warm and fuzzy guy. He would not meet with you to talk about you self-actualizing your life goals. You know?
Yeah.
He would just tell you your design is shit. On the other hand, Steve Jobs got the best work out of people because here was a boss who really appreciated great work, who had the taste to appreciate great work. There are many companies in America you could work for, and if you did great work, the bosses are so clueless, they wouldn't even know good work if it came to them. That is not true of Steve Jobs. So I think that's the key to Steve Jobs. Yes?
Hi, I'm Melanie, and I just have a really simple question. It's really easy to enchant people when you have good news, right?
Yes.
Like you said. But I've always had to deal with delivering bad news, and I thought.
Like what?
I mean, for example, we don't have enough money to go to regionals, or we don't have enough money to go to nationals, things like that. You know. So how do do you have any tips on, I don't know, maintaining that enchantment while delivering bad news?
See, this is why you should never take questions. I should have just left you on that high. You're thinking, oh, yeah, everything's great. He gave me all the answers. Now I got to come up with this answer in real time. That's a problem. So, of course, you could make the case that prevention is the best thing, that you should never have to come up to this bad news. But bad news does occur. I mean, listen, Apple for a long time was supposed to die. And you know what? I mean, just sort of stereotypical as it may sound, you just have to gut it out. I mean, if I stood up here and said there was a shortcut, it would be a lie. I don't think so. And, well, in Silicon Valley anyway, failure is very much accepted. It's almost celebrated. So I think that is one of the key strengths of Silicon Valley, that failure is okay.
Would you say that the more likable you are, the better they will receive the news?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, if you are not likable and not trustworthy and you have a crappy product, people will really enjoy watching you fail. Okay? And by contrast, if you are likable and trustworthy, I think people will slide you a lot of breaks. And, take Apple as an example. So, when, a few weeks ago, when there was this whole controversy that the iPhone is recording where you are, and so, all these security experts, they were, flipping out because, I don't know, they thought Tim Cook knew where every iPhone was, and, Tim Cook would know if you went to the Pink Pussycat strip club, and then, then Tim Cook would know if you went to this known Muslim Al-Qaeda cell in Chicago, and so now you're a terrorist. And then Tim Cook would record that iPhone, you search for, how to make a dirty bomb and all that. And so, my attitude on that is, Tim Cook doesn't care who the hell you are. He doesn't care if you went to the Pink Pussycat or you went to 7-Eleven across the street. How did I get on that tangent? I don't even know. Just talking about privacy. Yeah, whatever. Just to get off on another tangent, a lot of people ask me, I love to tell people this. A lot of people, they freak out with TSA. TSA, that kind of security where you hold your arms up and then they scan your body, and right, and they're all afraid that some pervert is looking at the scan of my naked body, right? And there's all this TSA reassurance that the person who's standing there doesn't really see you. It's somebody else in the cloud who's looking at your body, and he doesn't really know who you are and all that, and and then these other people, they're concerned that TSA, they're going to touch my body and grope my body and all that, right? And I tell you, I travel 200,000 miles a year. So I've been through more TSA searches than, most people in the world. And I'll tell you something. I've seen many, many people go through security. There are very few people, if I was TSA, I would want to see their naked body. Okay? There are even fewer that I would want to touch. So if they're thinking that TSA is getting their rocks off by groping people, they're crazy. So I have a solution for this. My solution, I'm an innovative, out-of-the-box thinker, right? So my solution is the TSA should have a part of their website where if you're concerned that people want to see your naked body or grope you, you upload your picture, okay? And then we let the crowd vote, thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay? So let's take an extreme. Let's say that, I don't know, Jennifer Lopez says, I don't want people groping. She uploads her picture. Everybody votes thumbs up. Yeah, Jennifer, you are legitimately concerned, right? Then the next person, slovenly, disgusting, just gross person, hair growing out of his ears, bushy eyebrows, all that kind of stuff, body odor. Everybody votes thumbs down, and he doesn't get to protest. So it's kind of like hot or not meets TSA. That would be my solution.
That makes sense because we recently had somebody up in Portland stripped naked at the TSA.
Really?
Yeah.
And would you have wanted to see him naked or her naked?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So I rest my case.
But anyway, my name is Harsha, and I'm an assistant professor in program advertising. And I have a comment and then a question.
Okay.
Comment is thank you so much for taking time to come and talk to us. And in 2006, I started using Twitter, and you were one of the reasons why I got hooked on Twitter.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. Because the question is sort of related to that. And I've noticed you over the years on Twitter, and you have about the same amount of followers as the people that you follow, about 200,000 or so, I think.
Yeah, so you want to know why?
So yeah, I always told myself if you ever meet him in person, this would be something you would ask him, and I got a chance to do that. So
wow, this is a big day in your life, huh? Okay, so just so you know, when I first started out with Twitter, I read a post by Robert Scoble, and he basically said that he follows everybody who follows him. And I read that, and I said, okay, Robert Scoble knows what he's doing. And so I came around to believe that if somebody follows you, that's very flattering. So the least you could do is follow back, because if somebody flatters you, you should flatter him. So there used to be these automated programs where if somebody followed you, you could automatically follow them. So I used to run that program. So today I have about 900,000 followers on Twitter, but I only follow 300,000 because that program has broken. And so now it's no longer true that it's one for one.
Okay.
And just in a moment of full disclosure, my Twitter is mostly ghosts and contributors now. It's very seldom me. Because when I first saw Macintosh, sort of the clouds parted and I heard the angels sing. It was a religious experience. And when I first started using Google+, I had the same religious experience. I just love Google+. So if you truly want to see what I care about and what I'm doing, you follow me on Google+, not Twitter. So for example, I took a picture with the hockey team, with the jersey. You're going to see that on Google Plus first. A little later, it's going to be on Facebook. Probably will never get to Twitter. So if you really want to see what enchants me, you follow me on Google Plus today. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
My name's Kevin Flannery. I have a question and a little bit of a story, but I'll start with the question.
Okay.
So enchantment seems to be a major theme for your life currently, and obviously for the presentation. And you talk about enchanting people and how Oregon's enchanting for you. And I mean, I think that many of us here would think that Eugene's very enchanting. So what does enchantment mean to you exactly? Why did you use enchantment?
Royalty. Nah, just kidding. You didn't get that joke. So you said, what does enchantment mean to me? I said royalty.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's kind of unenchanting answer, huh? You got to be quick with me, I mean, literally, I kind of wrote the book on enchantment, and so I really think that enchantment is just an easier way to live life. That I think it takes a lot more energy to be pissed off all the time and to be seeking revenge and to be angry, except for this one instance where we talked, today. But so it's just an easier way to live life, and part of enchantment is being trustworthy, as I said, and a lot of being trustworthy is simply being honest. And I have come to believe that, there are many high on Maslow's levels of need, hierarchy of needs. There are many high things, but for me, honesty is so important because honesty is the easiest way. And what I found is that if you're dishonest, you really have to keep track of how you lied. You know, you need to be consistent. If you're going to be a good liar, you need to be consistent, and that takes a lot of energy. Whereas if you're honest, there's only one true story. So if you just tell that one true story, you don't have to remember all the other stories you made up. And so as you get old, I'm 57, it's very hard to remember all the lies. So I think as the older you get, the more honest you should be because it's easier for you. So that's a very practical reason. I mean, it's not exactly, theology, but it's a very practical reason for being honest. And as far as enchantment, I think it's the path of least resistance. It's easier to live your life trying to be likable, trying to be trustworthy, defaulting to yes, believing that baking is better than eating. It's a better way to live. So for me, I guess you could say it's laziness, but it's expedient. I'm very happy. And it's the easiest path. I mean.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm into that.
All right.
And real quick, so last summer, my buddies and I were taking a launching new ventures class.
Yeah.
And we were under the gun. The project was due the next day, and our presentation was running a little bit thin.
Yeah.
And I had a few friends in from Chicago, very untimely, and I had to drag them along. And we had to get them involved somehow, and we had to give a convincing presentation. So we thought, who better than Guy Kawasaki to make an appearance?
Yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't actually reach you, so we dressed up Jim in some jeans and a nice-looking polo. And we sat him down on a table like we've seen all the videos from Stanford. And we actually had him be you. And my buddy Henry and I, we wrote the script on a brown paper bag from Trader Joe's, I think. And Jim nailed it, to say the least. And our project, like I said, was a little thin on content, but it was very, very convincing. And needless to say, it was feasible in the end. And I was wondering maybe if later you'd want to watch it, because we do have it with us.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'd love for
Maybe
you to
I'll
watch
use it.
Right. So we'll show it to you afterwards.
Is it on YouTube?
No, but we have it on the MacBook with us now.
But put it on YouTube.
Okay,
Oh,
we
yeah.
will.
Yeah.
We'll,
I love
We'll
that.
Google Plus it or something.
Yeah. So did the guy look like me?
Yeah, he was Asian.
I like it. So,
And also very smooth.
yeah. So can I tell you a great story? Because
Please,
I
yes,
love that story. All right. So it's only 8:30. Do we have to get out of here at some? It's not like there's going to be a bar mitzvah in here or something. Right? Okay. So this is about 10 years ago, right? And it's the height of the .com. Everybody's going to be rich and all that. So at this time, I had not yet had 4 kids. So I used to drive a 911 Cabriolet. Okay, so Porsche. So I'm driving on El Camino. I stop at this light. I look to my left. I see this car full of teenage girls. And they're smiling at me, and they're laughing, and they're giggling. And I think, God, you have arrived. Even teenage girls know who you are. It's because of your work at Apple. It's because you're a venture capitalist, famous author. You have truly Asian Justin Bieber, right? You're like. So one girl in the car goes like this, roll down the window. Stupid girl. Sure, Porsches don't roll down the window. You press the button. But anyway, okay. So I press the button, and the window goes down. She leans out of the car, and she says to me, "Are you Jackie Chan?" This is a true story. It's a true story. So ever since that day, one of the keys to success in life is you have to have big, hairy, audacious goals. You've heard BHAGs, Tom Peterson. So one of my goals in life is that one day in Hong Kong, Jackie Chan is driving his Rolls Royce or whatever Jackie Chan drives. Pulls to a stoplight. Car next door, full of giggling teenage girls. Girls say, "Jackie, put down your window." Jackie puts down his, Rolls Royce window. Girl leans out and says to Jackie, are you Guy Kawasaki? It's my goal in life. It's my goal in life.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just going to take this out. Hi, my name is Chase. I've read your book, Art at the Start, and one of the big things that was a takeaway for me from it was the ship fix mentality. I recently just started a business.
What?
The ship fix kind of mentality where you kind
I
of...
thought you said shit-face mentality. Okay.
It's a college realm. I can understand why that.
Okay,
no,
okay,
but
okay.
where
I mean, this is Oregon. I mean, we know what powers your football team, so okay.
But
is that true of the hockey team too? No. All right.
Anyway, in this presentation, you met for the third point was perfect, or like to have something perfect. And
yes.
It seems a bit counterintuitive, or is that more something to kind of shoot for as you roll out with?
You pronounce the word right. It says perfect, not perfect. So perfect as a verb is that you should strive for perfection. I mean, obviously. But yes, at some point you do need to ship. And my saying for that is don't worry, be crappy. Now, I'm not telling you should ship crap. I'm telling you that when you are a curve jump, the first laser printer was not perfect, but it was better than the best daisy wheel printer. You're probably too young to know what a daisy wheel printer was, but
no idea.
You know? Okay. So I think the operative phrase there is don't worry, be crappy. If you are 10 times better, you don't have to be perfect. But you still need to fix. You need to churn it. You need to fix it. So now, again, I'm not telling you to ship crap. I'm telling you to ship something that's very innovative and revolutionary, and it can have elements of crappiness to it.
Okay.
But don't ship crap.
The second quick question would be, our company does a lot with social media.
Yeah.
And you've been a big proponent of Google+.
Yeah.
Everything we do has a purpose to it. We haven't really been able to find a Google+ purpose because generally the people on it are middle-aged software programmers.
Yeah.
No offense, nothing wrong with that. And being VC background, I would love to hear a 30-second elevator pitch for why Google+ is a preferential social media platform.
A platform is what you make it. And I think that right now Google+ is the wild, wild west, and Google+ is like this great unexplored land. So if you wait till Google+ will be successful, and I believe it will be, and then you start to try to get followers, it'll be just that much harder. It's kind of like, if you wanted to buy land in New York, do you wait till it's New York City, or do you wait and, get it from the Indians for beads? It's kind of exploitative, but, you know what I'm saying? So now, Google Plus is not two guys in a garage with $100,000 in seed financing. For crying out loud, this is Google, right? So Google owns the river called data and search. And Google doesn't just tilt the field. Google owns the field. So when you see Google incorporate things like social search, so now that when you search for a term, you'll see what your friends on Google Plus have said about it. You'll see which people are considered experts in the concept of venture capital. I think that's very powerful. So, it's coming from Google. It's the 8,000-pound gorilla. It's the wild, wild west. The winners have not yet been decided. I think it's the time to take the shot. And, if you were conservative and you waited till today before you started on Facebook, it would be so much harder to make impact on Facebook. So I think you have to do it. I think it's just a very wise bet to bet on Google+. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. How about two last questions, because I only have so much knowledge in me, and I don't want to show you my limit. So,
well, my name is Charlie, and this idea of enchantment to me is a really cool one.
But?
And yeah, it's something I've found with trying to enchant other people.
Yeah.
Is that it's much easier to enchant people that are like me. Maybe from a software standpoint, it's easier to enchant Steve Jobs cold, or it's easier to enchant just people that I already understand. But
yeah.
I think sometimes the people that need to be enchanted are the ones that aren't alike, like Lonely Boy 15. maybe for example. And so could you maybe give an example of maybe where you need to go beyond just being liked or trustworthy and have these traits to really enchant somebody that you have nothing in common with?
Well, I think the key to that situation is the quality of your product. And if someone said to me, Guy, okay, so you say the 3 pillars are likability, trustworthy, and quality. If you could have just one, which one would you pick first? I'd pick quality. I think quality is the hardest. And then it's much easier to become and to learn how to be trustworthy and likable. But quality is the hardest. So in the circumstances you describe where you're trying to enchant someone that's either neutral or negative to you, I would say you lead with quality.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last question.
Hi there. My name's Brett. My question's similar to a lot of the other questions before, but maybe in a different direction. If for whatever reason, and whether you're an individual or an organization, when you do fail, when you do screw up as a brand, or when you piss off Lonely Boy 15, what do you do to recover? What do you do to get back towards Enchantment?
Okay, so first of all, I think you should never deny something. I mean, you should just admit that, yes, you broke his guitar. That would have solved a lot of problems, right? And rather than saying, we didn't break your guitar, then you have to have this viral video. So you should be honest, and you should have a sense of responsibility. If you broke the guitar, you fix the guitar. It's just that simple. If you screw up, you should pay for your screw-ups. So that would solve about 80% of the problem. It's when people try to sandbag and say, we didn't screw up. It's not our fault. Didn't you read the fine print? Whoever reads the fine print? Right? I just click on the accept button. So I think that would be 80% of the battle. You admit your screw-ups, and you have a sense that you have to take responsibility when you did screw up. And that also builds your trustworthiness. Actually, if you build your trustworthiness that way, and you're likable, and you have a quality product, or something that's getting to be better, I think people will understand a lot of your screw-ups. They're more. The worst case is when you screw up and you're not likable, not trustworthy, and you deny it, and you have a piece of crap, right? So a lot of it is just forgiveness, and forgiveness you earn, and trust you earn. So it's about earning that stuff.
All right. Thank you very much.
So please join me in thanking Guy for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your jersey.
Thank you.
And there's going to be a book signing outside.